I'm doing the thing. Awesome. Thank you all for watching. Maybe just hopefully the audio sounds good. I'm using a mic, but it is raining up here, so hopefully the mic's not picking it up. But let me know if the audio sounds really good or not, and I'll switch it up on the fly. Thank you all for tuning in. I wanted to. I didn't get a chance to do a video this week, and I figured I'd try something different. I've done a couple live streams, and I'm learning a little bit each time. So I figured why not just do a live stream, put together some slides, some pictures from some of my favorite POTAs from 2003. It's the end of the year. It's a good time to look back and everything. So with that, I'm just gonna jump right into it because I had a really hard time trying to pare down. I couldn't come up with like a top 10 list. I tried. I'm like, all right, let's get this down to 10. I think I ended up having like around 15 different activations. I go out a lot. There's no shortage of parks in the Finger Lakes region of New York where I am. So I'm very blessed that I can drive a couple minutes and hit parks easily. And I did, one of the goals for POTA this year was to get to 100 unique parks activated, which I did not too long ago. And I definitely hit up some new parks this year and went out on some activations with some different ops and definitely tried out a lot of gear. So with that, I will jump right into the slideshow. Let's see how this goes. So many of you, if you're watching right now live, you have a sense of who I am, why I do this, and what I'm all about. But for anyone else, who happens to stumble on this later, bless your heart. But why do I POTA? And I'm one of those pandemic hams, but it's real simple for me. I just want to get out. I want to get out of the house. I just want to get away. I want to discover some new parks in nature and, just experiment with different antennas, different setups. And at the end of the day, just have fun. I mean, if you can't tell, just looking at the slide there, I'm up over 2,000 feet above, I think it's Honeoye Lake in the Finger Lakes. And it's just absolutely awesome, unless the bugs are out. But I am going to go in chronological order. I had a hard enough time paring this list down, and it was even harder to try to rank them. But what we have right here is what started this whole YouTube thing for me last year. Christmas presents. I got the jet sled, the ice sled that you see there, packed full of gear. And then on top, you'll see one of the little buddy heaters. And that's kind of what kickstarted things. There was 2 awesome Christmas gifts, and I wanted to go out and test out the gear and decided to film a video when I went out and tested it. And because I would much rather go out like I did to a state forest, test the gear where I'm only 15 minutes from home, as opposed to drive an hour and then hike a half hour up to a soda summit, only to find out there's a rip in the tent or, I can't haul that much gear, whatever. So, this is kind of what kicked things off, because what I wanted to do is go up to one of the local summits. This is Bear Hill. It's about an hour south of me on Canandaigua Lake. And it's not a very high summit. It's only 1,800 feet. But I like to go there for the VHF contests and get that extra elevation. And it's fun to try out different bands and modes, like 2 meter and 70 centimeter single sideband. It was a real blast going up there, and I set up the ice hut. You see the antenna in back of me. I probably spent more time taking down and putting up antennas, because at that time, all I had were just speaker wire dipoles, just very simple speaker wire dipoles for 2 meters, 6 meters, just made with BNC binding posts. Nothing fancy, but sometimes the simplest stuff works. And it was a great test of the gear. I stayed warm in the hut. The little heater worked out well. I turned it off after a bit, and had a great time. And I managed to get out of Dodge and get back to the car just before it got really dark. So that was a really great time playing radio. I did a video on that one as well. And I think I posted at the top of the chat a playlist that I made where you can check out some of these. Not all of these were turned into videos, but there's the view, as you can see, from Bear Hill. And this was towards the end where I think I had taken the ice shelter down, but I was still doing a little bit of 2 meter with the Ed Fong J pole up the mast and the ICOM 705. But the VHF contests have been fun. It's been a good way for me to learn about some different bands and modes that don't get used a lot in POTA. Shortly after, in the winter, went out, and this was the first time I used the Rybakov antenna. And if you look closely, you'll see the green 4-to-1 on the blue 1-to-1 choke. You'll see lots of radios going on, radials, not radios, radials. Words are hard. And that antenna was the first time I used it. It's basically, a 25-foot random wire. And this thing kicked butt. I wasn't going to do a video, but I was so blown away that after I finished the activation, I filmed some stuff and put it together for a video, and it ended up being one of my early videos to kind of take off and get a couple thousand views. I see Kevin in the chat. So Kevin will remember this because I worked Kevin, K0KLB, on the antenna, and we turned the power down. Kevin was riding on the bicycle at the time, and I turned the 7300 down all the way to 0% power and was still able to make the QSO. I know that there's probably like, half a watt or something like that going out with the power turned all the way down. But oh my gosh, after that, I realized I got to try this antenna QRP. It's worked out well. The Rybakov antenna, I like to say, is it's always been full of surprises for me. I never know what to expect. And I see Brian in the chat too. What's up, Brian? Same park, different antenna. This is, oh, and hey, what's up, Andy? And Patrick, what's up, buddy? This is closest park to me. It's just a few minutes, about a mile or so away. And this is early a Friday morning. I had the car all ready to go as soon as the kids got on the bus and wanted to do an early shift POTA, which is actually a thing, and depending on the hours. And that's the Wolf River Coils 213-inch whip. And Simon, whoo-hoo, I can't do it like you can, brother. That was pathetic. What's up, Simon? So the 213-inch whip on the car. Friday morning, maybe some of you are starting to put some things together, but my ham alert went off and I realized, oh, Lord Callum is doing his live stream and was able to jump in his log. That was just a really cool, unexpected start to the day. That definitely made my day. He probably wasn't thrilled that it was, I wasn't on his quarter wave, but I tell you what, though, if you have the MFJ, the Chameleon, or any of those 17-foot whips, they are absolutely awesome and simple to use for activations. They're really quick to deploy. And I did a video with some tricks as far as, what you can do to try to, learn, how many sections you got to pull out for what bands. They are definitely awesome and something to have in your arsenal. There you go. This was an early shift that morning, man. I mean, this antenna definitely got out. Yeah, I was using the full 100 whiskeys. Hey, Lou, good to see you there, brother. Yeah, a lot of fun and unexpected and great to get Cal in the log. Now, same antenna here. This is, again, that 213-inch whip. Obviously, different time of year. Snow is gone. This spring, my club, the Rochester Amateur Radio Association, bought an ICOM 710. You can see it there on the dashboard. They wanted to buy it as a loaner rig that members could take out. And they asked me, since I do so much POTA, to kind of go out with the radio, play with it, get it set up. So I spent a weekend with it, watched a lot of videos, actually read the manual, dialed in the settings, got it set up, not just for, the sound and the audio, but make sure FT8 was all good to go. And brought it out to do a POTA here off of Lake Ontario. This is up in Irondequoit. And man, the thing got out well. What I did, just to be different, because it's kind of how I like to roll sometimes, I didn't do voice first. I actually did FT8 first. I wanted to do digital first. So the first contacts ever made on the radio were digital. But when I switched over to voice, the first contact was a DX park to park with Jean-Baptiste. I forget his call sign. If I saw it, I would know. But over in France. So to get a park to park with France for the first voice QSO on the club's radio was awesome. This video has definitely got a ton of views. I think that the 710 is a good radio. I got my own opinions on it versus the 7300. I think it comes down to ICOM and Yaesu being, like Ford and Chevy. But it's a good radio, and I'm hoping to get it again in a couple weeks. There's a new firmware update from a month or so ago I got to do, and my screen just went black for a second. But Porter, what is up? I hope that you had a very Merry Christmas, and hope that it's going to be a Happy New Year for you too, buddy. Let's see here. 710, that's awesome. Now, this is a late shift at another park right down the road from me. The first one I actually activated. Rush Oak Openings, kind of like a state forest. All right, yeah, thanks, Jeff, for letting me know. It looked like I froze, but I'm paying for gigabit internet, man. The least they can do is give me like half of it. But it certainly doesn't help when the kids are up probably streaming and gaming and stuff. Anyway, Rush Oak Openings. I think I've used like every antenna known to man at this park. And I threw together, and you'll notice, actually 2 masts, not one. So this took a little bit of work to do. What's up, Freddie? This is a linked Rybakoff antenna. So normally the Rybakoff is just going to go up 25 feet, but this is going up 25 feet and then over horizontal another 25 feet. That way it'll be much better performance on 40 meters, but also give me 60 and 80. So for this late shift, I did a lot of 60 and 80 meters, QRP 10 watts, and it did absolutely fantastic. Not the easiest way to set it up. I've done it where instead of a second mast, I've put the other end of the horizontal wire in a tree. But it was definitely fun, and I had the space to try it out. So really surprised at how well that did, especially QRP. Oh man, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. And yeah, I don't know why that is on the iPhones that they don't, or maybe it's the same way with Android. They don't let you round up, but that's awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Freddie. And while I'm talking real quick, Tim, if you're still watching, Grayman POTA, drop your link in the chat if you can. And anyone who's watching, if you're not a subscriber for Tim, Grayman POTA, he's getting close to 1,000 subscribers, and it'd be great if we can get him over before the end of the year. Another quick shot. Sun is definitely starting to go down, as you can see. But one of the nice things about state forest wildlife management areas like this, you don't have to worry about the park hours. I try to avoid it during hunting season, at least during daylight hours. But other than that, it's great. They're not going to plow or clear the parking area in the winter, so sometimes you can't get it. But yeah, it's absolutely great when you get out for late shifts at places like this, and you're the only one out there. It's so much fun, and it's so quiet. Now, this was not a video, and I got a couple photos from this. So you've heard me mention my club, the Rochester Amateur Radio Association. We're actually one of the larger clubs that there are in the U.S. We got over 500 members. I know, it's crazy. And you go to meetings and you'll see 50, 60, 70 people there. So we got a pretty big club, and I organized on Support Your Parks weekend in April a POTA event. And so you'll see on the table there, there's our 710, and it's got the external display hooked up. I can't remember if we bothered with the external speaker or not, but we set up. We had over 30 people attend this event. It was free at a local park. We had the 710 out. Then Paul here is doing CW on a 705. He had brought his whole chameleon slate of antennas, had an NFED thrown up in a tree, showed some folks how to use throw line to do that. Dave had a G90 and was doing FT8 in digital mode, so people got to see CW. They got to do voice, digital. There's me with my buddy Jeff, who you'll see a little bit later, and a couple others. And it was just a fantastic turnout. Again, you see some more there. Like I said, it was over 30 people. You see the mag loop. People got to learn about the witchcraft of mag loops. And there's a couple more photos. These guys right here in this photo, they came right from testing. And I think that the two on the left had just upgraded to general, and I can't remember if the young lady was a tech, it just got her tech, or if she upgraded too. But it just so happened the day we did this event, our club was doing, our VEs were doing the testing, and so they encouraged everyone to come over right after. So it was a good opportunity for some new hams, excuse me, to get out and at least see what POTA is like and see some of the equipment and some of the different setups. I was really surprised by the turnout. It kind of, sometimes you do an event like this, you don't know what to expect, but it's good. And I got to book the cabin to do it again in April. It was such a big success. Now we got to switch to Fort Stanwix. I went here in elementary school for field trips. This is in Rome, New York, and this definitely brought back some memories of elementary school going here. But what was unique about it is this is actually a forfer if you do it right. And there are two trails. One trail goes around the outside, and one trail follows the walkway through the park. And then the park is in the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, which is a very large POTA park. And of course, it's the National Monument too. So I used the mag loop and set up on a picnic table, one of the few spots that I was close enough within 100 feet of both trails and able to make it a forfer. And I had a blast. You don't even have to listen to the contacts. You just watch this video and you'll get like a firsthand tour of this fort from the Revolutionary War. They called it the fort that never surrendered. It is so cool to walk through there and just see the history. It is awesome. I had a lot of fun doing this video. It was a struggle getting it activated QRP with the mag loop. I won't lie. I got it done, but it was so much fun just going through the fort and seeing everything. It was really, really cool. Elementary. There you go, Jeff. I said it again. Now, this is Headland Dunes State Park on the way out to Hamvention. And what you'll see there in the back is I think that's the that's the Soda Beams Tactical Mini mast. And then we just use some gear tie, some of the rubber wire to tie that off to a post. And then it's I think it's a 20-meter end-fed half wave coming down in a sloper. But my friend Michael, W2 MVP, and I had gone out to Dayton this past year and then the year before together. We both got licensed around the same time, live close together, and do some POTA activations. And so we brought his G90 out with the 1010 as end-fed half wave, and just set up right there on the beach. And this is one of the things that I just love is, when I talk about discovering, it's like new places like this. I mean, it was just great. We could have activated and played radio all day there, no matter what the bands were like. Just being on the beach alone. There weren't many people out because it was still, early middle of May. It is so much fun. This video was a short one because this was my first experience with how bad wind noise can be, and encouraged me to purchase another mic, and I've since got another. But it's so much fun getting out there on the beach. When I go to places like this, I can't help but think of like Walt Hudson from Coastal Waves and Wires, and why he loves to go out on the beach as much as he does. It's just awesome. It's so much fun. I'm not sure if anyone recognizes this antenna. This is the Mercury by Coffee and Ham Radios. And actually, I got the tumbler here right now as well. This is a link dipole. First one I ever used, first one I ever built. It was a great kit. Definitely recommend it. I mean, I can't say that these winders that the guys at Coffee and Ham Radios have made, I can't say enough about them. They're absolutely fantastic. They're definitely heavy duty, durable, and stuff. But I kind of was like, let me do a dipole. Everyone says, and I went so long, like the first 2 years of ham radio, without using a dipole, other than an end-fed half wave, which I guess technically is, but a traditional center-fed dipole I never used. And so I was like, let me make one. This is for 40, 20, and 10. And went out, and this was the first 1 watt POTA activation that I did. I did 1 watt in 1 hour. And it was a nice day. I think this was Memorial Day weekend in May. And it did exceptionally well. I want to say, I think I got like around 18 or so contacts on it. I did the first 30 minutes on 40 meters. Then I jumped to 20 meters for 20 minutes. And then I did the last 10 minutes on 10 meters, but 10 meters wasn't open. I didn't make any contacts there. So still, you easily get 20 contacts in an hour at 1 watt if you're using a good antenna, have a good setup. The mast, I think I had this up about 20 or maybe 25 feet up off the ground. Not too high, but it was good, and about 25 feet or so of RG316 feed line. Yeah, it did awesome. Hey, 45, thanks for stopping by. Now, let's go to the other extreme. So if you have a dipole, use a dipole. The Witchcraft in back of me there, the mag loop. It's a love-hate relationship with that thing, but as Kevin will tell you in the chat, I came up with a challenge for myself. I wanted to do a 5-park rove using just 5 watts QRP, but to make it even more interesting, I wanted to use 5 different antennas. And so I jokingly called it the Blonde Ambition. And it's kind of a throwback to, what was it, the Madonna tour, dating myself, the Blonde Ambition or whatever it was. So I called it the Blonde Ambition. And to make it even more complicated and interesting, I let the members in Kevin's QRP SSB Facebook group vote on what antennas I was going to bring out. And so they sent me out with a Rybakoff. They sent me out with the mag loop, the Wolf River Coils 213-inch whip, a 33.5-foot random wire, and then there was a tie between ham sticks and the KM4 ACK end-fed half wave. And I cast the tie-breaking vote and went with the KM4 ACK end-fed half wave because 5 watts was going to be hard enough. And boy, this was a challenge. I joked with one of my buddies that friends don't let friends rove QRP, but I made it happen. And I honestly had like minutes to spare before the UTC time change. That was a lot of work. The parks weren't too far apart. Some of them were like only, 5 to 20 minutes apart from each other. But when you're talking about setting up a station, taking down a station, trying to find a frequency, trying to hold a frequency QRP. And on top of all that, the first park I went to didn't have cell or internet service. So I was totally on my own for a little bit there. Um, it was challenging. I didn't know if I was going to get it done a couple times, but this was like an absolute amazing feeling at the end of this. When I was driving home, I just, this was such a good feeling. It was a fun challenge. And I'm looking forward to maybe in the next year, doubling down and trying 10 parks, 10 watts with 10 different antennas. We'll see if I can make that happen. The biggest challenge is finding ones that are going to be like within a reasonable distance to sort of make that happen within a day, and then finding the time, because I mean this took most of the day for me, but it was definitely worth it. Now this is another one of those VHF contests I've kind of been drawn to. This is the 222 and up contest, which is on 1.25 meters and above. So you're, 1.25 meters if you have it, and then 70 centimeters, and I think even some stuff into the gigahertz space. But I went out and set up multiple radios and antennas, and I had my hands full. You can see in the photo, I used the 705 to do FT8 on 70 centimeters. The little Bowfang is a tri-band, so I use that for FM on 1.25 meters. And then the ICOM Mobile I used for FM on 70 centimeters. This was absolutely crazy, working 3 different radios at the same time on 2 different bands, 2 different modes. But it was a good challenge, and it was a good learning experience too, because first of all, I didn't even know what the FT8 frequency was for 70 centimeters. I had to text somebody. It's not in WSJTX, so you definitely need to know it. And it was good to see that the antennas weren't interfering with each other, and that I was able to man multiple stations kind of at the same time. Granted, you don't have the pile up that you do if you're doing normal POTA on HF, but that was that definitely a lot of fun. And I've really liked going out for some of the VHF stuff, and it's a good learning experience. I know I'm lucky here because in Western New York and Southern Ontario, there's a really big VHF group. So if you go out on those contests, you're definitely going to be able to make some contacts for sure. So now I don't have any photos of the setup from this one, but this was a twofer for me in the sense that I did 2 videos. Excuse me again. 2 videos with this one activation. This was the first time I used the N9 SAB off-center fed dipole, which is for 40 through 6. And after what I did with the CARS antenna, the link dipole at 1 watt, I figured, let me bring this out and do a 1 watt activation and see what we can do here. Absolutely no problem. 1 watt, same formula, 30 minutes on 40, 20 minutes on 20, 10 minutes on 10. Very similar. I think I had maybe one more contact or so than I did with the other antenna. Of course, I'm over 2,000 feet up, so I certainly had the height advantage, but that was great using it. But I didn't want to just stop there. I know it's a resonant antenna. It's going to be a great antenna. It's a dipole. But one of the big questions we have is, like, what bands can you really get on this thing? What will the internal tuner tune? What won't work on it? And I ended up making contacts using emergency mode on the ICOM 7300, which limits it to 50 watts, but it gives you a wide range tuner. And I got contacts on 9 different bands. I got 6, 10, 12, 15, 17, 20, 30. I did FT8 there quick to make a few. 40 meters. I got 60. I got a voice contact on 60. Of all things, there was a freaking net on 60 meters. And I was able to check in at the very end, got it done. And So I think going from 6 to 60 meters, I made contacts, no problem. You did need the tuner on some of the bands like 60 and stuff, but that was a real good experiment and good to see really what that antenna was capable of. Spoiler alert, I liked it so much. I just bought the 80-meter version. It just came the day after Christmas. So I will be out in the park with 130 something feet of wire very, very soon, seeing what bands that can do. And it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's one finger for 1 watt. And I love going to this park, Harriet Hollister Spencer recreation area. Just absolute fantastic view and awesome elevation. Someone told me that they used to do field days up there, and I can see why, because it's just awesome. Now we're really getting into the meat and the potatoes. This Skino Island was just this is wild. My buddy Jeff, who we saw before in the Rah POTA event, KD2YAO, he was he got his license a year after me, and I actually Elmered him a little bit. He asked me, bring him out for POTA, try some different antennas and everything, and then he went on and he brought a boat. Dude brought a boat so that he could go activate islands and some things like this. So this is a lake island. It's not too far. You can see a little boat, small motor on it. Able to get there, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe. We brought way too much gear. We did not need any of that gear, but it was all Jeff's gear, so I wasn't worried about losing anything if we went sideways. But yeah, if it looked no further than this photo in the boat to know that, yeah, POTA is definitely an addiction. We used his 991A and Wolf River coils, which if you look real closely in the kind of the middle right-hand side of the screen, you can see the tripod set up there, and did 20 and 40 meters. This island, you see about half of the island in this photo. It is small. It's obviously an island, so it's accessible by boat, but you can only really get there certain times of the year because of the migration patterns of birds. Other times it will be completely covered in like seagulls and whatnot. There's definitely a lot of carcasses and stuff. So, there he is, N9SAB. I was just talking about your antenna like minutes ago. Figures, your ears must have been ringing. So, yeah, but I want to get back to this island again sometime, because we used the Wolf River coils and that was okay. But now that I've seen what the terrain's like, there's plenty of trees and opening where I can get a good wire antenna up, even if it's just an end fed and stuff. So yeah. Jeff was the first person to do the activation at the island about a year and a half ago. And he's been there a few times since. It has not been activated much, as you can imagine, because you got to be crazy enough to go out there with a boat and your radio gear and stuff. And you got to time it right with the weather and the birds and stuff. But it was so worth it. We had a really, really good time. And I can't thank Jeff enough for inviting me out to go out there. We left just as the sun was starting to set, and we had just an amazing time. And that was just, it's so special to look back at that island as we kind of drove off into the sunset. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting back there again sometime in the next year. Unfortunately, though, this is all freshwater, so I do not have the benefit of the saltwater amplifier here in the Finger Lakes. And as you can see, I love going out doing activations with friends and stuff. This is Michael, W2MVP, so I'm in a couple other photos. He was getting close. He was around 100 or so contacts away from getting his first kilo. So we went out and we used the Denko battery that I had just built. I actually built it. Kyle had a live stream, and a few of us ham tubers built the Denko battery live. And oh man, you did not have to do that. Payback for last Thursday. Thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate it. So we built this battery, and I was nervous as hell doing something like this live. But what I love about amateur radio is it's encouraged me to try new things and do things that I wouldn't have done like a year or two ago before. I just wouldn't have. And so I built the battery and I figured let's go out, let's test it out. We'll use it for your activation, Michael, so he could get his kilo. And we decided, it's a 5.5 amp hour battery. Uh, it's meant for QRP, right? But we decided to really see what it could do, and we ran Tim's dipole. We used off-center fed dipole. This is the N9 SAB we used. It's rated for 50 watts, so we ran all 50 watts from the ICOM, and we managed to kill the Denko battery in a little over an hour. We had backup power we switched to, but just really wanted to see what we could do with the battery. And honestly, 50 watts in 1 hour is more than enough for a POTA activation. As long as you got a decent antenna and the conditions aren't horrendous, you should be fine. So, but I got other plans for that battery for QRP ops, but that was a lot of fun. And it was helpful to see Michael here in this photo get his 1,000th. Oh my gosh, that's hard to say, especially if I haven't had enough coffee. To see him get the kilo right there, that was awesome. And then this one, the last slide, this, I gotta say, for sentimental reasons, is definitely my favorite POTA of the year. It's my two sons, Jake and then Ben in the background. He's got his General W2 BMK. And we like to go out and activate on holidays. So this was on Thanksgiving. My youngest son, Jake, and I just ran a turkey trot. And right after the turkey trot, we headed out to the park and set up the N9 SAB off center fed dipole. And it was cold. It was windy. Our hands were frozen. We did it as a live stream. If you want to watch it, we didn't do it for too long because of the weather. But this was the first time that Jake, my youngest, got on the radio and actually said hello. And of all the people, it was one of my Elmers. It was the Elmer who taught my son's course, and said Happy Thanksgiving. Jake's shy. You can't tell so much by the photo, but he doesn't like, being on camera or talking if he doesn't need to, and he just gets real shy. So to see him want to get on the mic on his own and talk on the radio was cool. So hopefully, in the near future, he'll get his ticket as well. And, Ben's moved on to other things, but, being a teenager, he still has his ticket, and we get out a couple times a year, and it's always a blast. If you look in the background, one of the things that happened with this activation, I'm using the Amazon speaker stand, and excuse me again, I use the Gocher Mask. There's one of those cheap 7-meter fishing poles that's telescopic. I wanted to try that out. It fits perfectly in the speaker stand. So that definitely gets it up, 25 feet or so in the air. The winds were so bad, it actually blew it over, and the Gocher hit the top of that pavilion. And I was so nervous that the thing was going to snap or break. It didn't. So I actually moved the tripod, the stand, off the grass onto the concrete there, where it's certainly more level. And Jake ended up standing by most of the activation. He was standing right by the tripod in case a gust of wind blew it over. But yeah, we had a good time, and that was fun. So yeah, that's kind of it. I did my best to pare it down. Like I said, it was hard to choose. I had so many fun times getting out there and activating, playing radio. It's fun, but it's also, for me, it's how I learn. I still don't have a permanent setup at my home for radio or anything. So 9 times out of 10, if you get me on the radio, it's because I'm out at a park or operating portable or just happen to set something up in the backyard quick. So getting out that's how I learn. It's an opportunity to try different setups, different masts, different antennas, different configurations, and everything. And I love going out with other people to kind of help them along in the way. I getting licensed like I did in the pandemic. You know, there were no clubs meeting in person. You were kind of on your own for a little bit, and I knew it was a little struggle. Getting started and everything, but I'm always happy to Elmer people. And when my buddy Jeff reached out and was asking about antennas, I'm like, let's go out to the park, and brought 3 different antennas so he could see how to get a wire in a tree, set up a vertical, try a couple different antennas with his radio and see what he liked before he went out and committed to buying something or making something. And it's fun doing stuff like that. And I absolutely love this hobby. And and I just doing my part to try to share it with others and everything. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was fun, and this in itself was a learning experience for me. Just trying to set up the live stream and try doing things in different ways. I'll try doing some more of these. Some of it just depends on the weather too. This time of year, it's like a heat wave in New York. It's in the 50s the last couple of days. This is nuts. I'm not going to be out in the garage when it's 10 degrees or whatever. So but this was fun. I'm glad. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sure that there's some other videos or live streams coming up later on this evening and stuff. And I just really appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I had an absolute blast. And Brent, thank you for tuning in. I meant to say I saw you there in the chat. And all I can say is, just for 2024, POTA on. I'll have a video out on Tuesday with some of the others from the Tuesday Night Ham Radio crew, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what our goals and what we're looking for in the new year. So hope to see you in the chats then. Hopefully I'll get some of you on the air when I'm out activating these next couple days. I got some new antennas and lots of fun things I want to try out. So with that, I will say 7-3. Thanks for tuning in. And now I got to find the button to end this thing. Where the hell is that?